Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Minimum sold out, mind, body, and soul. Got a heart full of gold. They can never hold me down. I keep my name on the low. How?
This is the eNASCAR College iRacing Series.
Big dream to a big problem.
The cars may be virtual, but the racing and scholarships are real.
Big dream to a big problem. We got big problems. They been mad that we been got it. I turn a big dream to a big profit. I turn a big dream to a big profit. We got big bags. They got big problems. They been mad that we been got it. I turn a big dream to a big profit. I turn a big dream to a big profit.
Good evening, race fans, and welcome to iRacing's coverage of the third race for the 2023-24 eNASCAR College iRacing Series, powered by NASCAR League, live from the virtual Dover Motor Speedway in Dover, Delaware. James Pike alongside Terry Ranford. And Terry, this track is fast. It is not particularly long. It can be narrow. The sense of speed, though, is through the roof. And we can see a lot of craziness happen. In other eNASCAR series, we've seen some wild races at Dover, and I think the potential is there for another crazy race tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. We have 40 of our best drivers for the college series coming out here to take on Miles the Monster. We're going to find out one way or another who can tame it or who's going to get absolutely junked just like Oklahoma has the past 2 weeks.
Justice for Mario Miranda, I suppose, as we take a look at the full eNASCAR College iRacing Series schedule for 2023-24. Two more races in the fall. Dover tonight, Watkins Glen on November 28th, and the time attack will open up for that next week before we take some time off for exams and the holiday break, the new year, all the above, and then we'll get back at it in January with a visit to Michigan International Speedway. So that's what's coming up so far as the schedule is concerned. And when we take a look at points, a little nugget for you all. Drivers that have qualified for tonight's race will have the car numbers alongside their name. If they haven't made it into tonight's race, you see the school logo instead. So most of everybody in the top 20 in points, Terry, not surprisingly competing tonight at Dover.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is a monumental opportunity for them to gain some points that are not competing for the contender spot at Richmond. But a lot of these drivers are out here right now. Austin Farr coming off
And a friendly reminder that the top 25 in points at the end of the regular season finale at Nashville will advance to the championship next May at Homestead, Miami. We also have another race going on tonight alongside the College Series. We've got the eNASCAR Contender iRacing Series in action from Richmond. And for more on that race and keeping an eye on proceedings there all evening long, we've got Blake McCandless. So, we've got Blake watching the Contender Series. We've got Terry watching everything in the College Series. We've got a whole bunch of really good racing this evening.
Yeah, we got a lot of good racing going on here this afternoon. And like I was talking about a little while ago with the points, Austin Farr coming off of that win, 2 points ahead of Logan Clampett. I expect to see Logan potentially put an opportunity to go up there and challenge the Liberty University driver tonight.
Liberty University had a great race out. Blake McCandless, you're going to be covering the Contender Series at Richmond tonight. What should we expect from there, and what are you watching for?
Well, the biggest thing, James, is that we're far enough into this season where you're really going to start to see, I think, the difference in strategies. Yes, Richmond can be challenging. It's a short track. We can see a lot of things happen there, especially when you think about the NASCAR Xfinity Series cars that we'll be utilizing tonight. A lot of slipping, a lot of sliding around. So these drivers will have their hands full, but I think the aggressors are mainly going to come from that group of drivers that are just around that top 20 cut line. I don't think you're going to see a lot of the Vicente Salases of the world and many of those drivers who have had a lot of success early in the year. They're going to go out there, they're going to mind themselves, they're not going to get into too much trouble, but desperation has set in. And this has been the craziest Contender Series that we have seen in many years. A lot of these races are coming down to late race restarts, so look for them to want to have some track position when we get to the end of this thing.
It has not been clean and green in that series as it has been in years past. But let's take our focus back to the College Series. And Terry, let's hear a little bit more about Dover Motor Speedway and tonight's Coca-Cola track analysis.
Yeah, one of the only concrete tracks on the NASCAR circuits we see. The 1 mile D-shaped oval has the turns banked at 24 degrees, the straights at 9. It opened in 1969, and if you think back to our Coke Series winner, Nick Ottinger, he won this pretty handily. We'll see if one of the drivers can follow in his footsteps tonight.
Nick Ottinger's got a very, very good track record at this track in the Coke Series. However, let's also not forget that the driver that won here in the College Series last time we were here, Logan Clampett, is also in this field and starting on pole, representing the University of Cal State Fullerton. To his outside, Nate Stewart with his best qualifying effort yet in the College Series, representing Hopkinsville Community College. St. Francis Xavier's Noah Fougere and Austin Farr, who won last time out, starting row 2. Caleb Bryan from Missouri S&T and Garrett Lowe for UNC Charlotte round out the top 3 rows.
Yeah, go back there to row 4, where you are going to find Jeremy O. Burns from Longwood with Jose Salas Jr. from Manchester CC. Stephen Wilson back there from the University of Iowa with Elliott White to the outside from Maryland. Reese Bayham from Auburn University and Matthew Morton from The Ohio State.
Amontiala representing Milwaukee Area Technical College and Austin Green from Embry-Riddle there in row 7. Alexander Hyder representing St. John's River College, and Braden Mubick from the University of Minnesota at Mankato in row 8. Row 9 features Arizona State's Garrett Vitton and Eastern Washington's James Cioli.
Yeah, starting out row 10, Daniel Nanny from Macomb CC with Abraham Vela from San Juancita College. And then you got Andy Piano from Detroit Mercy with Austin G. Johnson from Cal State of Fresno with Mario Miranda. Boomer Sooner, Oklahoma University represented back there with Aaron Mulraney Jr. from the Kent State.
Our second Liberty University driver sits in 25th at RP Allen. To his outside, Guilford Technical Community College's A.J. Green. UNC Charlotte has got 2 drivers in this field as well, courtesy of Kealoha Hankins. And Lane Graves from Wichita State starts 28th, rounding out the top 30. From Chattahoochee Technical College, it's Drew Jewett and Joey Burgee, the Community College of Allegheny County.
Colson Phelps will be back there on row 16 from Iowa State with Aaron Brown from Eastern Shore CC. Brandon Pipgrass will be back there from a South Central Kentucky college with Colton Salick from Aeronautical from Daytona Beach. And then John Forbes from Saddleback and Charles Wembley from Gulfport College.
Dallas Baptist University's Kristen Charbonneau, Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute's Jack Coyne, Palm Beach State's Tyler Gary, and University of Wisconsin at Stevens Point, Liam Sheen round out our 40-car field for this third race of the eNASCAR College iRacing Series. Logan Clampett looking to go back-to-back here at Charlotte. Remember, he had so much success when we were here in the spring, led the most laps, won the race, picked up the biggest share of the scholarship money, and will be looking to repeat the feat tonight and walk away with $1,000 in money towards his studies at Cal State Fullerton. Green flag is out. Clampett gets a great jump, and we are underway. And look at Logan Clampett go off the front of this field by 3 car lengths before we even get to turn 1, Terry.
Yeah, absolutely, and the challenge goes on for the second place position as here comes Noel in the 36 challenging Nate Stewart. Austin Farr trying to challenge as well. Everybody wants to migrate to the bottom, James. You see it here. You get stuck to that outside. It's not what you want to do. It tears up the tires early, and here we go. Lap 1's clean and green as, well, we're still rolling, and a little bit of contact's made there.
People starting to slide around and find their positions. Here's Austin Farr. This all happening just behind Nate Stewart, who's been able to escape the clutches. A little bit of contact off the wall a little bit further back. I think that might have been Caleb Bryan who got into it, but that's something we're going to have to watch all night. The exit of turn 2 and turn 4 at Dover have this funneling effect. They tighten up on you very quickly, and if you're racing 2 or 3 wide, more often than not, we see people get into the fence and cause trouble on corner exit.
Yeah, one of the things I learned talking to some of the drivers is you want to unbind the car when you go into the corner. The more you let this thing roll and you allow it to wind back up and carry the momentum, the better you can get a corner exit. You see back here a little further into the back, you got the Wichita Shocker fighting this. You got the 4 as well having a good fight. All of these drivers just trying to single file out, James, so we can stay under the green flag condition. We don't want Barney throwing the yellow flag at us.
Everybody beginning to string out here and working their way through proceedings, early days in this race. 110 laps that will run tonight, and lots of drivers trying to take advantage of the compressed field here on the initial start to try and grab a few spots before they settle into a groove. Good battles here a little bit further back and good fights across the board. This is Austin Johnson that we're looking at here, right around 17th. Meanwhile, all sorts of fighting here.
Our Contender race, we just finished up qualifying. We're going to pace around here for 2 laps. It is Dylan Alt who wins the pole, currently sitting 19th without a drop in the standings, so go a long ways for him. And then Taylor Hurst, Novak, and Tinsley for second, a 3-way tie for the second position in qualifying. Bordeaux, Delaney, Luza, Olot, Honeycutt, and Anthony Burrows will round out your top 10. Salas, who has gone to victory lane a multitude of times this year, will start in the 11th position, but a couple of notables. Ray Alfala starting back in the 33rd position in his quest to try to get back into the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. Ryan Doucette, who pulled some interesting strategies to be able to have a solid run last week, he's going to be starting in 23rd. So plenty to watch for here from Richmond, as we'll throw it back to you guys at Dover.
Yellow flag early, all sorts of fun stuff here across the board, and everybody working for position. On the bottom right-hand portion of your screen, you see one driver dip out there. Really good stuff in the middle of this pack, and lots of fighting here as they continue to roll.
Pace car is going to dive in as Dylan Alt and the rest of the field will come around to the green flag here at Richmond. And we are underway for 130 laps here for these drivers to compete around Richmond Raceway tonight. And unlike what we saw in the Contender Series race last season, looks like so far so good. There's a lap 1 wreck that kind of put a bunch of people behind the 8 ball early, but 2 and 3 wide. We'll see a lot of that tonight as the field continues to roll on here at Richmond. So lap 1 underway as we take lap 10 over at Dover in the College Series.
The double zero in action here. Kealoha Hankins, the one of two drivers from the University of North Carolina at Charlotte. This is for 28th on the racetrack. Hankins in the mix, and he is alongside the 29 of Brandon Pipgrass.
Yeah, Pipgrass back there racing with Hankins, Graves, AJ Green, and Berge in the 03 for that 28th position. We've seen them in our side-by-side cut while we saw 2x2 action in the eNASCAR Contender Series at Richmond. You're seeing it here as well. Here we go for the double zero. He drops it down, trying to peek to the inside. Not going to make that work. Graves to the outside, looking for another position, but all sorts of racing, James, for the 28th, 29th, and 30th position here at Dover.
Continuing to push and continuing to fight. They're now all pretty well single file here and continuing to circulate around Dover Motor Speedway. And this is the time where you really start to see what kind of car you have and what ability you have to tackle this track over a long green flag run. It's about 15 laps in that we really start to see cream rise to the top.
I love the Macho Man Randy Savage cream rise to the top just as much as anybody. But for a lot of these drivers racing 20th on back, they're going to have to find some type of strategy that's going to make the call. We're going to Watkins Glen in 1 month's time, or a couple weeks' time, sorry, to put that one out there. And the great part about that race is, well, we saw last year's strategy come to fruition as we go up in the field. Nate Stewart solidifies himself into the P2 position. He got past Austin Farr, last race winner, as Logan Clampett still holds this lead by 0.3 of a second. Stewart, big on social media today, saying he had a great opportunity, started outside front row, James. That Hopkinsville Community College machine is ready to tackle his first college win of the season, potentially.
Nate Stewart's got a pretty long history in the college series. He's competed in multiple semesters, but he hasn't had a run like this. He'll have to maintain the track position, but one thing I've noticed about Nate, when we carry on in official races and in league races on the sim, if he gets track position, his ability to run consistently quick laps on his own is usually pretty good, as we have a yellow flag out to slow us down to lap 16.
And now, when we see the replay, this would be a great opportunity for a lot of those drivers I was talking about outside the top 20 to potentially flip some track position here this afternoon. I would almost argue that most of this field is going to come down the pit lane and take 4 fresh tires. As you see the smoke there in the skid marks, looks like we had a pretty decent pileup, but we'll wait for the replay.
Few drivers already down on pit road, I can tell, so we had a few folks get swept up in that initial incident, but Logan Clampett is going to stay out, and here comes the pit strategy. Nate Stewart leads just about everybody else in, so this is either a great show of confidence from Logan that he believes he has enough skill and ability to wheel this thing around that'll be that much faster than everybody else on fresh tires and the rest of the field, recognizing what Logan was able to do in the spring here at Dover, says, okay, we need to have tires, and we really need to make sure we have some sort of advantage on this guy. Let's take a look at the Contender race from Richmond while we're under yellow here in Dover. Blake McCandless, how have the first few laps shaken out?
It has been clean and green so far. We talked about Dylan Alt winning the pole award, but the last couple of laps gotten a little bit loose behind the wheel of that number 42 Ford Mustang for Nexus. He has fallen back into the 3rd position. It has been Taylor Hurst, who started on the outside of the front row, who will take the lead. The rest of the top 5, the biggest mover, you could see that number 10 car, Caden Honeycutt, has been so strong. Even won a Pro Late Model Series race after flying back from Phoenix this past weekend. He's running up into the top 5. We know how strong he's run for Dead Zone this entire season, as he runs in 6th and is easily looking at a place to cement his spot in the Coke Series in 2024. Wyatt Tinsley, Vicente Salas, also a big mover, 11th up to 8th, or at least one of the cars we've seen that have been making some big moves early on here. As you can see, everybody pretty much single filed out for now down to the bottom of the racetrack and running right along the yellow line here at Richmond Raceway tonight. As far as drivers that are struggling, I don't know. We haven't had too many drivers fall back significantly from where they started this race. Ryan Doucette's back from his 23rd starting spot into 27th. as well as Daniel Buttafuoco started in 27th, who currently rides in the 30th position for now. But pretty much spread out a car length or so. We'll update you if anything else happens, James.
The other thing I noticed looking at the top two in that race, both drivers for Lockdown Racing, Taylor Hurst and Zach Novak. So Lockdown clearly with a lot of speed early on. They traditionally have been pretty good at Richmond and Coke Series competitions, so that doesn't totally surprise me, Terry, that they're good. But we're almost going to come to a restart here in the College Series after our first yellow flag. Going to be on lap 20 of 110.
Yeah, we'll wait for the pace car to come in. Couple notes here. R.P. Allen and Aaron Brown, multiple laps down. Joe Berge, Christian Chabarno, and Liam Sheen also a lap down as well. I tell you what, I don't ever get to do this. The pace car's down and in. The field's in the hands of the oldest tires on the field. Logan Clampett, Colton Salick to the outside, Nate Stewart there. Green flags back in the air. Logan Clampett has us underway.
Clampett didn't quite get the same sort of jump. It's still a good one, though. So Stewart will jump to second. Look at Colton Salick get tight there in the middle of 1 and 2 and start falling like a stone through the field. He was the other driver that stayed out under this yellow, so he and Clampett going to try and hold off the field on old tires. Here comes Nate Stewart, though, with a run, and Garrett Lowe now looking to his inside. Great battle for the lead.
Yeah, great battles going on all throughout this racetrack. You see Reese Bayham back there in that one machine, the battle for the 9th place position. Colton Salick still dropping like a stone, but Bayham's doing a great job from Auburn University. And James, that's our highlight university. We'll talk about that here in just a little bit. Hopefully we put it up. But man, what an awesome thing that the Auburn University esports drivers have done as we go on board here and look at them. They're trying to split there, and 3 wide don't work here that often.
You see the concentration on Bayham's face, continuing to try and work for a spot around Caleb Bryan. Omar Diallo is just there too, just looking for any sort of clean air that he can find, which can be of some value here at Dover. Normally you want to run the bottom line, but sometimes we'll be in good shape.
Yeah, you rip them tires up if you aren't in clean air. But take a look at this. Look at the Auburn's esports facility, James. A lot of great places for those students to go have some fun, and a lot of cool things that these universities have done to put the esports stuff. Here's their gaming lounge for all of these students to go in here and play. Here it is. How awesome is this? Look at all those screens that go there in the background, and take a look at this video. These students having a great time playing all sorts of games, and what a wonderful thing they do for this series to put drivers out here for us. And caution flag number 2 waves on lap 24 as Nate Stewart holds the race lead.
So Nate Stewart was able to take advantage of the fresh tires, as were a fair few amount of drivers. Logan Clampett slid back to the 8th position by the time the yellow flag came out. So that, I think, says a lot about the value of fresh rubber here at Dover. It was relatively easy for a lot of the drivers in the top 10 to make up ground, even on what was a pretty short green flag run, Terry.
Yeah, I mean, he's on 24 lap old tires, and he's going to come down the pit lane now. So Logan Clampett's going to go all the way to the tail end. The defending race winner for the College Series here at Dover has a mountain of a job to climb back through this field. But take a look who's to the outside of Nate Stewart. The man who started did not have the best run about a month or so ago at our last racetrack. Steven Wilson did not qualify at the last one, didn't have a good one, but we'll kick it over to Blake McCandless for the Contender Series.
Things are still orderly here through the first 26 laps at Richmond. As you can see, there has not been a single change up into the top 5, at least for now, although Luza and Honeycutt may have just exchanged places for the 5th and 6th position. Things are getting a little bit hairy, a little bit further back in the field. You have to go back to around 28th or 30th or so, where you see a lot of side-by-side action. Daniel Buttafuoco, Ryan Doucette, Christopher Hill, and Ray Alfala, a couple of names that are kind of duking it out too wide as we take a look at that right now through turns 1 and 2. The biggest worry right now, and with these Contender Series races that we've seen that have kind of played out to this point for now, you're kind of looking, okay, when are we going to look at perhaps making our first pit stop? For this race, I would imagine it would be around lap 65, as of course that would be splitting the race in half, as you could imagine. but it looks like that will be the case. And for a couple of drivers that are looking for something to kind of flip their season around, you'd imagine that probably be another 15 or 20 some odd laps if they're able to run past that distance. But so far, this is kind of what we've anticipated the last couple of years and what we've seen. But as we know, James, these races are never over. But you look at the left-hand side of your screen, you can take a look at the names that are in the top 20 that are doing themselves some favors in terms of getting inside that cut line to contend for the Coke Series in 2024. Back to you guys.
Let's take a look at the replay that will show us what happened to bring out caution number 2 at Dover in the eNASCAR College iRacing Series. And lots of action here through the midfield. Not anything new, but yeah, Pipgrass just got to the inside of Garrett Vitton, and Vitton just tried to get there, and then hard contact. I couldn't tell who got into him, but that's a lot of rear end damage for the Arizona State Sun Devil.
I believe that might have been Aaron Mulraney Jr. In the 2 that made that collision right there. And nowhere to go here at this racetrack. This is what they call a self-sweeping track. You're either going up high, you're sweeping towards the wall, or you're able to roll it down there. But there's a lot going on. As we take a look at our Logitech G race analysis here, we're going to go 110 laps, which is 110 miles, pit road speed 35. If we have a green flag pit stop here this afternoon, we have 4 sets of tires available, and 50 to 55 laps. We'll see if that's green or we'll see if that's under the caution flag, James.
We do have green, white checkers available to us if we need them as well, and I would not rule out the possibility of needing a green, white checker or 2 or 3 at a place like Dover Motor Speedway. Definitely something that we'll have to watch for. Restart is coming, though. Lap 28 of 110, and you figure that these drivers will likely be relatively good-ish on fuel at this stage. I think the big thing here is going to be tire wear. We saw that obviously in that little stretch with everybody else, and since then everybody else has come down pit road. So tires really dictate the pit stop more than fuel, but just variables to keep in mind if we get a long green flag run as we go back to racing at Dover. Nate Stewart with the good jump, and just ahead of 2 drivers who competed in the championship for the Coke Series in 2023. UNC Charlotte's Garrett Lowe and Iowa's Stephen Wilson fighting for the runner-up spot down the backstretch.
Yeah, Coke Series drivers fighting in this series. You have potential Coke Series drivers fighting in Contender as well. Stephen Wilson will get the advantage on this one. Put that 10 Smithfield, Iowa State driver up to second. And we take a look right there at Diallo. And we go back to Stephen Wilson holding that second spot. Iowa City, Iowa. He has been a wonderful ambassador for the iRacing community across every single platform and racing series there is. I mean, you can catch him racing all over. I've seen him race GT3 cars. I've seen him race some dirt stuff. He is really good, and he's the 2023 champion as well. Got his honor on the stage at Phoenix Raceway this past week when Kevin Harvick said goodbye. So it's been good for the Stewart-Haas Racing drivers, and Stephen Wilson holding up to it, trying to chase down Nate Stewart.
I got the opportunity to see some of the photos from Stephen's visit to Phoenix over the weekend, and from what I can tell, Stephen had a really, really good time. And Stephen's one of the drivers in the Coke Series where Stephen, he's always got a sort of fun personality that you wouldn't necessarily expect when you first see him, but you get to talk to him a little bit more, and he's always having a great time, especially if you listen to him in chat in the rooms with everybody as you watch this battle a little bit further back. He's the kind of person that will sing Taylor Swift under caution and has done so in the past. So that's the kind of driver we have as our newly crowned Coke Series champion. Andy Trupiano leading this battle for the 15th position. Representing Detroit Mercy. Here's an onboard with Tyler Gary. Also was in the Coke Series this past year out of Royal Palm Beach, Florida, representing Palm Beach State.
Yeah, Tyler Gary's trying to get a couple extra positions here, sitting in that 17th position. He has Pipgrass right in front of him. Trupiano as well in that 34. That's a good side-by-side battle. Tyler Gary, he has his aggressive moments, but man, he's tempered down just a little bit. Doesn't want to take too much here and wear those tires out. Just going with the flow here at Dover. As you look up just a little bit further, there's the 27 That's the Eastern Washington driver, having a good run so far. We'll see what the rest of these drivers can do as the race for 19th is underway. And wow, I did not expect to see Farr all the way back there.
Now up to P7, Noel Fougere, part of this bunch. James Cioli, Daniel Nanny, Reese Bayham, all in the mix. So Auburn represented well. Eastern Washington represented well in this bunch. Lots of great action just on the edge of the top 10.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's been good racing, good hard racing. When we have green flag runs, if we can keep it consistent like this, I'd be curious to see what the strategy play is like. Do these drivers go to the edge of the fuel window of the 55 laps that we could potentially see, or do they try to short pit it, see where the race window opens, where the pay window can get you there? I just don't necessarily see a whole lot of extracurricular going on at the moment, as you see a couple drivers trying to explore in that second groove, but not a whole lot. There was almost contact a little further back of the screen.
Just out of curiosity, if you're looking at any of the drivers that came down about 20 laps ago and you were trying to split this race in half on tire strategy, which is going to dictate your pit stop here, we're about 45 laps removed from hitting the sort of midpoint where you even out the stints, as it were. So if we go green all the way to, call it about lap 82, 3, 4-ish ballpark, probably going to see some folks come in, I think.
You got to remember who you're talking to. You got to remember I'm from Tennessee, James. Math has never been my strong suit, but if I was a betting man, I'm listening to whatever spotter is in my ear telling me, hey, driver, you got 5 laps to go or 10 laps to go, and you take a look right here. We're going to go on board with Colson Phelps, our driver out of Iowa State, running back here just a little bit further back than where he wants to run in that 70 machine.
Also, as we look at the Iowa State Cyclone, a quick editorial note on my math. I had my numbers jumbled a little bit. The actual number to split both runs would be lap 64. 64. I did whip out the calculator and get the right number, Terry. So eventually someone is going to find the right math.
Yes, that Tennessee math, you don't want that with me. We go on board with the 28. That is Caleb Bryant. I'm sorry, I made myself laugh there just for a second. But yeah, Caleb having a good run here in that 6th place position. This is good for him for Missouri S&T. He started in that 6th place position, currently where he resides in that Toyota.
Brian been a top 10 driver, nearly top 5 driver pretty much all night long in this race. He's shown really, really good pace. It has been pretty racy in this year's college series, but this is the best that I think we've seen him look.
Yeah, it's been really good for him as we take a look at the 42 of Braden Movick. And Braden's coming to us out of Minnesota Makata. I believe I said that one correctly in the 42 Chevrolet. Look how focused he is here on his Logitech wheel. That's the important part, but look how far he sits up on that wheel, turning it in the corner. I might have to reach out to him and be like, hey, give me some tips of the trade and how you get around this track like that.
Movick there just in a line of drivers and just trying to find some sort of space to work around. Not really much that he can do at this point. Lane Graves just ahead of him here. This is right around the top 20.
Yeah, our top 20's just our top 20 has been the mayhem move of the race, because they have been side by side, 3 wide at some points of the time of the night, and that's mainly where we've seen our incidents this afternoon. We take a look here at the fight just a little further up in the field. Actually, we're a little further back in the field. You got the 5 machine starting to fight it out as well. That's Abram Villa in the 34 that's going at it here. And here comes the 44 of Logan Clampett driving from the back of the field, James, putting himself back now into the top 20 in the 17th position.
With 7 lap fresher tires than everyone else around him. So not a huge margin, but enough to where if you have the skill of Logan Clampett, I think it can make a difference. He's already made his way up to 15th. Remember, he restarted about 33rd, 34th. We went back to green flag racing. Let's take another look at what's going on at Richmond in the Contender Series. Blake McCandless, what do you have for us?
Still rolling. We have been green since the drop of the initial green flag, although we're coming up on halfway in about 10 laps or so. We're taking a look right now at Anthony Burrows, who is helping himself right now, currently runs in the 14th position, but you can see why this run is so important to him. You can take a look at that top 20 cut line, and there is a dead tie right there between Burrows and Matthew Zwack, which, again, we would imagine with two of the announced retirements out of drivers that made up the top 20 in the 2023 Coach Series season, that it may be 21 and maybe 22 drivers that we could potentially be looking at that would be approved to join the series next season, but very contentious around that position. We can see Kevin King right now running up inside the top 20, just behind that 62 car, and helping himself kind of after a rough start to his campaign. Kwame Scott right now, you can see that number 99 that's right in front of the cut line. He's in 34th right now, and with the season he's had, this would definitely be drop territory for that number 99, but still barely runs inside that cut line as of right now. You can also see Derek Justice, the number 31 car, currently running in 22nd. He sits in 16th and is looking to make the Coach Series, or back to the Coach Series, for his third consecutive run. Ryan Doucette, remember the strategy call he employed at Darlington, he has fallen behind, and we are just about to walk up again, as we mentioned, on green flag pit stops. So again, orderly so far for now. It is Derek Bordeaux who has taken over the race lead from Taylor Hurst. His dead zone, James, looks like he is they are awfully fast tonight. As you can see, Salas right now, who is challenging for the race lead as well, also on a dead zone setup. And what a run that he has had in this season. Started in 11th. We talk about how hard it can be to pass in this series, but there is something that Salas has figured out about these Xfinity Series cars, and he has driven up through the best cars in the field, is looking to take the lead here into turn 3.
Salas would be looking for an unprecedented 4th victory in the eNASCAR Contender iRacing Series if he can find victory lane this evening. That, to my knowledge, Terry Radford, and all the iterations of that leg of the eNASCAR ladder, whether or not it's the Contender Series or the Pro Series, going all the way back into the history from the beginning of the sim, I don't know if anyone's ever won 4 races in a single season in that series, so there is significant history on the line for Vicente Salas. In the meantime, though, this is your battle for second. Steven Wilson has jumped out clear. You can see him clear of Nate Stewart by about a second. Garrett Lowe, Omar Diallo, and Jose Salas Jr. looking for the runner-up spot, as Lowe will peek the nose to the inside of Stewart entering turn 3.
Oh, and man, he kind of forced Nate to make a little bit of a knee-jerk reaction and go up the racetrack just a tad bit. Oh, Nate, hang on to her there, buddy. Oh, he almost took himself out over the nose of Omar Diallo. Got loose, got washed up the racetrack. Diallo's going to go and follow him up a little bit to keep that momentum rolling. We'll have a side-by-side battle for that 3rd place position here in just a second. But James, man, look at all this fighting going on here. Oh, Diallo slides up again.
Diallo sliding up, trying to keep Nate Stewart. Oh, and he fences him. He turns him. They would not give an inch, and both of them end up in the wall. Both of them with heavy damage and the yellow flag out.
Oh, and that was, I mean, you could see the writing on the wall on that one as they both washed up the racetrack trying to get all they could get out of that car off the exit of the corner, and the wall they go. And you talked about it earlier, James. Dover's one of those racetracks that the exit of the corners, it sneaks up on you. It snuck up on him here as we're about to take a look at the replay.
This is a classic case of I don't think either driver wanted to give. Stewart didn't want to lose the position down low, or up high rather. Diallo didn't want to give it up down low and didn't want to get trapped up there, and neither of them budged. And Caleb Bryan got a little bit of it too. I think he got the inside wall. So and a few more cars. Couldn't tell who that was that clipped Diallo, but that ended up being a 4-car incident.
Yeah, I mean, I go back to the point with the self-cleaning racetrack. It's very hard because you can tunnel this track. It blocks up really, really fast. It's like I-95 traffic, and now everybody's going to come down pit lane, and this puts us, James, you pay attention here. I'll help you with the math. They do not need a pit stop under the green flag conditions unless we see another caution. I don't expect to see it here.
The field will come down pit road, and everybody is coming down pit road, so that'll give us the opportunity to go to break. You won't miss any of the action here. More from the eNASCAR College iRacing Series from Dover coming up in just a few moments.
When I hit the wall, this thing shook like crazy. I have experienced that in real life, so I can compare.
I tend to choose rally games that are really putting the actuators through their paces, and they've been holding up really well.
That's exactly how it is in real life. That's the coolest part.
Tonight's broadcast of the eNASCAR College iRacing Series is brought to you by Coca-Cola, the official fan refreshment of eNASCAR. By Logitech G. Through design, engineering, and a love of driving games, Logitech G takes racing simulation to another level. Logitech G, the official wheel and pedals of the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. By D-Box. Make body and racing simulator become one. Improve your virtual race time with D-Box motion technology, providing ultra-precise movements and vibration cues while racing online. D-Box. Feel it all. Welcome back to coverage of the eNASCAR College iRacing Series from Dover Motor Speedway, round 3 of this 2023-24 season for the best of the best in school in eNASCAR. James Pike and Terry Radford bringing you all the action from the Monster Mile, where it's been a lot of familiar names up front. Steven Wilson, Garrett Lowe, Logan Clampett, the 3 fastest drivers out here on a little bit different pit cycle. But everybody has come back together. They pitted right about halfway, and it should be a fun 50 laps and change to the end.
Yeah, and the crazy part about it is that caution was exactly what Logan Clampett wanted to see. He had worked his way back inside the top 15 at the time of the caution flag. James, he now finds himself 7th with an opportunity with 51 laps to go when we take the green to come up here and contend for this win.
Lights are off on the pace car, so next time by we'll go back to green flag racing. Also worth noting, and I want to give a little bit of love to some of the drivers who are, shall we say, eNASCAR College iRacing Series specific per se. You see some crossover with Steven Wilson, Garrett Lowe, mixing up names here, but a crossover between the Coke Series and the College Series. Caleb Bryant from Missouri S&T having a great run, even with the damage, still holding out and trying to make sure he's in good shape, but currently in the top 5. Jose Solis Jr. from Manchester Community College running in the top 5. Noel Fougere from St. Francis Xavier University in Canada up there as well. Some of the names that we don't see as much as a Wilson or a Lowe, but also having really, really good runs tonight so far, Terry, as we get ready to go back to green.
Yeah, we'll see Barney the flag man wave that green flag over Steven Wilson. He'll get the jump. And if we saw Steven Wilson and Garrett Lowe become one person, I would be terrified for the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series field, because they would be in a ton of trouble. Those 2 drivers are very fast and competitive no matter what you put them in. But if you want all the latest updates, news from eNASCAR, grab your phone, scan the QR code there, and you can catch up for the College Series and where we're going to see them next in the point standings that are there.
Get a good look at just how fast these drivers travel around Dover Motor Speedway. And if you want to learn more information about the eNASCAR College iRacing Series and about the time attack that is coming up for our next race at Watkins Glen International, scan the QR code on the lower right-hand portion of your screen, and you can learn more about Watkins Glen. You can learn more about the spring semester and the places that we will go a little bit later on this year. And all about the eNASCAR College iRacing Series. This is your scholarship money breakdown for each individual race. We go from $1,000 to the winner for $100, or to $100 rather, for 10th place. The top 10 in each one of these College Series races walks away with scholarship money, courtesy of our friends at eNASCAR and NASCAR League. And at the end of it all, $60,000 of scholarship money going to go out to some of the best drivers in eNASCAR throughout the school year.
Yeah, I absolutely love it. And James, I don't know if you know this or not, but it is the most wonderful time of the year. The Black Friday deals are rolling, 25% off those memberships across the board. So get on over to iRacing.com. And if you're in college, you got an opportunity to put it on out there and come race with these guys. You saw it right there, how you can be a part of this series and race in this series by hitting the time attacks. Be one of those drivers that goes above the rest. Big loose there off the corner, and Tyler Carey almost wiped it out there. And I don't think the drivers behind him, Mario Miranda, having a wonderful run there for the Oklahoma Sooners. The race for 8th, man, it is on like Donkey Kong.
Only you, Terry, can come up with some of these ways to describe these battles, but they are intense, no doubt. And I'll back you up with the Black Friday thing. iRacing.com/Black Friday is the place to go. And I will personally attest to the value. Whenever I am renewing my memberships, I do it on Black Friday or around then during the sale, because that's the best time to make it happen. As we see these drivers go 3 wide, I wonder, Terry, if they think now is the best time and maybe the only time to try and get to the front.
Oh man, I didn't think that was going to work at all. Big contact there, far hang on to it, but the Wichita State driver Colton, they all hung on to it. How did you hang on to that thing? You're at Dover, it don't happen.
I have no idea how they hung on to it. They were wrecking loose in the middle of 3 and 4, and yet somehow we stay green flag racing. That did spread out everybody from about 20th on back, so a little bit more space for the drivers in the top 15 in particular to breathe, but that was really, really close for some of the folks in the middle of the pack.
Yeah, man, you don't see people like that. You saw Graves, you saw White, you saw all those drivers getting loose around there. As we take a look at the Ohio State, and they are the undefeated Ohio State University as well there for Matthew Morton, looking to punctuate their championship run in the NCAA football championship run, potentially with the win here in this. And he told me to go easy on him on Twitter, James, but back-to-back losses for the Oklahoma Sooners, and Mario Miranda kind of picking that school up a little bit on the esports side of things up here in the top 10.
Miranda, I've seen run a lot of private leagues. He's really made a name for himself in the community over the last year and a half or two. He's one of the faster drivers out there, and trying to play defense there on Brandon Pipgrass the way that their head coach Brent Venables, I think, would love to see. No room for Pipgrass to try and get inside or outside of Miranda. Meanwhile, Miranda trying to do the exact same thing to Noel Fougere, representing St. Francis Xavier University, and this is all right at the edge of the top 10 too. Look at the move a little bit further back. Austin Johnson and Austin Farr trying to block each other as they try and go after Pipgrass for the final scholarship money spot.
Yeah, they are. They're fighting back there. Look at all of this action going on outside the top, right around the top 15. And these drivers are beating and banging. Everybody, I watch drivers get loose throughout the corner. They've hung on to it so far. But yeah, we'll head over to Blake for Contender.
There has been a huge development in this race, guys. We had a caution in the midst of green flag pit stops. It was mainly Caden Honeycutt, Vicente Salas, a couple of drivers who had come down. Honeycutt and Caden Rush got together. They spun, and we've had another ensuing yellow involving Logan Helton and Colin Bow. This is kind of more of what we've expected to see as we see a restart here at Richmond on lap 79 of 130. Inside, about to be inside 50 laps to go. And this is when I think things are going to get really aggressive, as we have so far seen up front. Not much of a change, although Salas is going to have to work his way back up through the field. But he's in the midst of a 4-wide battle that was going on all around him. So we will continue to kind of watch and monitor this situation. But this race kind of turned on its head in the midst of that green flag pit cycle as they're going to wreck off of turn 2 just behind them. and that will bring out the caution flag. As you can see, a couple of drivers involved in this one. Agnell Phillip gets spun off the nose of Max Brady, and we are under caution for the third time here at Richmond.
Caden Rush, I believe, was the other driver that picked up damage in that race. So to the outside of the wall there. Down the backstretch in turn 3 he goes with the reverse Kevin Harvick paint scheme that he ran about 20 years ago. So pretty easy one to catch on the blimp there. As you look at this battle, Caleb Bryan yet again right near the center of action. Not a surprise. He's been really quick and been near a lot of good fights throughout this. Now riding in 22nd, Lane Graves to his inside, and up front Stephen Wilson trying to hold off Garrett Lowe and Logan Clampett.
Well, I think this is the race we kind of expected to see, James, when we saw that caution flag come out. Logan having to come from the 7th place position on the restart. Now we see it. Our Coke drivers, you dropped the Macho Man Randy Savage line. The cream rises to the top. The top 3 of the best sim racers on the planet. 1, 2, 3, 34 laps to go, and there's the side-by-side. Low down there on the bottom left, Logan Clampett on the bottom right, and they're fighting hard to go catch the Stewart-Haas Racing driver of Stephen Wilson.
All 3 of these drivers have an immense amount of experience in the sim. They are arguably the most experienced drivers in tonight's College Series field. The best of the best in the eNASCAR College iRacing Series, fighting for $1,000 in scholarship money with just over 30 laps to go.
Yeah, this is going to be an absolute dogfight. They've kind of left Jose Salas Jr. in the 75 by the tune of about 2 seconds back there in the 4th place position. But all eyes is right here. You see the focus. Clampett's talking to his crew. Garrett Lowe has been an absolute silhouette of himself in that seat. And we've seen that time and time again where he doesn't let the frustrations bother him, that he has come up oh so short a couple times in these series races, where now here he goes again, chasing Stephen Wilson, who was the only driver, James Pike, if you remember, to go 4 for 4 like our friends at Wendy's.
You're going to make me go get a biggie bag once this race is done.
You're welcome. I'm hungry.
I wonder if you're as hungry for food as these drivers are for spots and for scholarship money. We go on board with here at Vinton at Arizona State. Remember, he got caught up in that incident over in turn 3 a little bit earlier in this race. Took that heavy shot to the rear end of his machine and has been hanging around as best he can. Forks up in the background there and trying to chase down Caleb Bryan, who all of a sudden really is struggling. I think the damage he got in that incident between Diallo and Nate Stewart really, for lack of a better word, and apologies for the pun, but put a fork in Caleb Bryan's plans. Now Vinton will try to fork away the position, and I will see myself out on the other side.
I didn't know where you were going with that, but I'm a big fan of seeing old Sparky on the hood and seeing a good shot there of our Arizona State driver, and one of my favorite teams to watch in the wee hours of the morning, technically here on the East Coast. But here's the fight still going on for second. You've started to see Garrett Lowe get a little bit loose, and Logan Clampett able to put the pressure on the back end of the UNC Charlotte. The old Niners machine is starting to field the pressure, and look at that, off the corner, you see the wiggle. Here comes Clampett. He's right there tuning some good lap times down too, James.
It's not Lions, Tigers, and Bears. It's Hawkeyes, Niners, and Titans, oh my, at the front of this. As Wilson's been able to stretch this out just a hair as Lowe and Clampett continue to fight for the runner-up spot. He's up by about 0.4 of a second. And Terry, I want to come to you on this. If you are Lowe, if you are Clampett, to what degree are you fighting each other for position, and to what degree are you trying to work together, recognizing that Stephen Wilson's starting to drive off the front? And at what point do you say, okay, we need to stop fighting each other because we have to go get him?
Well, I think at the moment you just have to think about it with Stephen Wilson. Like, he just can ride off into the sunset. But we got a restart over there in the eNASCAR Contender Series. Blake, what's it looking like?
It's looking pretty crazy over here. 4 wide, multiple instances throughout the field for Vicente Salas. We talked about the amount of wins he had. He got put behind on track position because of the strategy that he employed, and you could see he is aggressive and trying to make his way back up towards the front of the field. Restarted in last. A couple of restarts ago, and he's going to get turned on the back straightaway directly in front of Daniel Smallwood as well as James Holzer. So Salas, again, his spot should be secure in the top 20, but he spins off the nose. Caution is out, and we will rack him up and try it again. It's that time in this Richmond race where we're going to kind of throw some respect out the window and try to get some points.
To his great credit, though, I will give Vicente props, because Vicente races the same whether or not he's racing for 20th or for first, and he's going to be aggressive no matter where he is in the field. So the same Vicente Salas that has been leading all those races, Terry, is the same Vicente Salas that isn't afraid to take a risk like that, and sometimes it just doesn't work out in your favor, and that's maybe the first case all season in the Contender Series where the chips haven't fallen his way.
Yeah, Dead Zone's been phenomenal. All Contender. They were great in the qualifying series as well. But look at over here with Steven Wilson. I'm kind of surprised. Iowa State's known, or the University of Iowa's really been known for defense, but he's on the offense as we take a look at the shockers back there. Lane Graves, look at the smile on his face. That's what the college series is about. Putting smiles on everybody's faces. He has the Maryland Terps right in front of him, and well, I don't know. Shockers and Terps. I don't think that necessarily goes together there, Pike.
It does on the hardwood. These are two basketball schools more than anything else. Wichita State with their Final Four runs. Maryland with the 2002 National Championship. Although I will say, good to see a school like UMD finally in the College Series. To my knowledge, this is the first time we've seen them, but I don't see Testudo on the car, and I'll admit I'm a little bit sad, because Testudo, I think, is one of the best mascots in all of college athletics. So I'd love to see a little bit more Fear the Turtle on that.
Oh, well, I tell you, he almost feared of getting wrecked right there by Lane Graves as he took a shot there. Elliott White, great driver. You talk about league racing across the board, man. He's shown up in a lot of leagues throughout the iRacing platform and has really honed his craft in what he has been able to do. Just got inside the top 20 here, not in scholarship money, but I think you're right. I'd love to see the old turtle on the car. Well, he's starting to settle in here and pull away there a little bit from Graves.
We love mascots in the College Series. If your team has a mascot, bring the mascot out, play it on. Whether or not it's the Hawkeye from Iowa, whether or not it's the Titan from Cal State Fulton, whether or not it's Testudo and the Maryland Terrapins, whether or not it's the Shocker from Wichita State. Mascots, huge part of the college experience, and definitely would love to see them more involved in the eNASCAR College iRacing Series. Just under 20 laps to go, though, as we take a look at Andy Trupiano out of Flat Rock, Michigan, driver representing Detroit Mercy. This is someone who, from what I've seen of him in the sim and what I know of, really proficient in the 1987 cars. I've seen him win a few private league championships with the 1987s, and really good there. So you figure a car that's a little bit more difficult to drive, a little bit more horsepower, not as much grip, maybe that plays into his hand a little bit, and this might be the kind of car that if he doesn't have a great feel for now, with this being one of his first starts in this series, give him a few more races, he might be able to pick it up.
Yeah, I need somebody to teach me that 87 car. I tell you that right now. Like, that's the one car I want to learn on the iRacing platform. Maybe when I renew my membership with the Black Friday deals and the 25% off, I will definitely hone in on that car by itself. But it's good to see a new school, Detroit Mercy, coming into the series as well. And for Andy, you talked about high horsepower, not a lot of grip, whole lot of downforce. You come over here to the Xfinity Series car, you have to make some speed first starting this one, but man, there's a lot more racing going on. Man, look at the onboard.
Charles Wimbley from Brooklyn, New York, representing Guilford College here. Also, Terry, we'll give some love to some of the official racing on iRacing that's eNASCAR related, because, you know, if you're trying to get invested in the 1987s, this is a great time to do it. You've got the NASCAR iRacing Series that runs throughout the NASCAR regular season, and in the winter, there's the eNASCAR Winter iRacing Series that runs the 1987 cars, and that starts tomorrow afternoon Eastern Time at the Old Daytona. So if you're trying to get into the 87s, if you haven't had a chance to really run them and you want the opportunity to dig into them, this is maybe the best time of the year to pick it up, because you've got a whole series of extended length races to get the opportunity to try and learn those things and see how they compare to other cars in the sim, like the cars we see here from the NASCAR Xfinity Series.
Well, I don't feel like losing a ton of iRating. I think I might have to find an invite over to a Moon Car or something to put myself in the 87 cars across the board. But you see the Terps. You see Reese Bayham from the Auburn Tigers, War Eagle. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that one out there. My other Southeast Conference school from the east, or the west side of things, where I hope they beat those stingy Crimson Tide later in the season in the Iron Bowl. But couple shakers and movers around here as Trupiano goes up to the 18th place position. White goes up to 19th. Bayham falls to the backside of the top 20 as he's got Graves. He's about to be catching him anytime.
You want to talk about movers and shakers in tonight's race. Tyler Gary absolutely going to run away with the Hard Charger Award. 39th on the grid to a top 5 spot, closing in on the final 10 laps of this race. Really nice work from Gary as we move out ahead. This is Jose Solis Jr., another one of those college series regulars. We don't see him in the Coach Series, and this is really his big race here on the iRacing platforms every month. But this driver out of East Hartford, Connecticut, representing Manchester Community College, how big this would be for him and for a lot of the drivers in the college series to be able to say, we can compete with the best of the best. This is a Coke Series champion, the current and reigning Coke Series champion. That's the only driver beating Solis in this field as of now. When you consider some of the folks behind him, he's ahead of 3 Coke Series drivers from 2023. This is a big, big accomplishment in waiting if Solis can finish this off.
Well, and to touch on this point, turns 1 and 2 has been his bread and butter. He has been just a little bit faster than Steven Wilson over the past couple laps. It was a 25.157 for Wilson, a 25.127 for Solis Jr. But 3 and 4 has just kind of been his Achilles heel, the exit of the corner. He has not necessarily been able to catch up to him. And you take a look at the battle for 5th. You talked about Tyler Gary. There he sits. He's got to go catch Logan Clampett, Matthew Morton, Scioli. You got Fours back there as well. That battle of 4, about to be a 5-way fight for that 5th place position is underway.
Gary has made his way through the field, but how much is he holding up the drivers behind him here? Truthfully, I'm not particularly sure, because they've all evened out on lap time, but I can't tell whether or not that's just tires equalizing and these drivers all being relatively as fast as one another, or if Gary is taking away the clean air and if these drivers just can't do anything in the dirty air behind his machine.
Well, if it's anything like the 4th quarter of an Ohio State game, they struggle early, they figure it out late, and they go win by double digits. We'll see if that works for Matthew Morton in the 31 as he gets right to the back bumper of Tyler Gary. That run off the 2, not too good. Scioli and them starting to close in. Oh, do they make contact here? No, they back the corner up perfectly. What does the run off the exit of 4 do here for the 31? Man, it's just like a single file train out here, and they're all just following each other's lines.
At what point, if you're Morton, do you show to the inside of Gary, if for nothing else, to try and get in his head and break up his psychology a little bit, because he's been pretty consistent. I'm not convinced he's the fastest car in line is Gary, but I think at some point you have to try something here besides beating him on raw pace.
I don't think you necessarily want to get into the psyche of Tyler Gary, because he will block you. He does not care, and he has that type of mentality. He has the old school racer mentality you look for. That's what Stuart Haas looked for in Josh Berry, that gritty driver that will just hemorrhage spots and make himself great at the end. And Tyler Gary's that guy, holding that 5th place position. If you're Matthew Morton at this moment, peak now, but forever hold your peace, because Gary's not going down without a fight.
On the list of drivers who I think are most likely to say something along the lines of what Ross Chastain said over the weekend when he was asked about the blocks he threw on Ryan Blaney. I do not care then, and I do not care now. Tyler Gary absolutely is one of those drivers. Meanwhile, the other thing I've noticed in this train, Morton has switched his line in 3 and 4 in particular. He's riding up a little bit higher in the center of the corner to try and exit it lower to try and get underneath Gary. Meanwhile, Steven Wilson is well clear of everyone else by about a second. He's just got a lap and maybe a quarter to cruise to victory here at Dover.
Yeah, kind of thought that Solis Jr. was going to be able to close in, but he struggled late, and Steven Wilson found some speed. White flags in the air. 1 lap to go here at the Dover Motor Speedway for the eNASCAR College Series.
Before he was a Coke Series champion, he was a standout in the College Series. Steven Wilson won all 4 races in the fall 1 year ago, and it's victory number 5 in the College Series. So the University of Iowa, Steven Wilson, who comes across the line and takes the checkered flag at Dover Motor Speedway in round 3 of the 2023-24 eNASCAR College iRacing Series.
What an incredible win here by Steven Wilson. Pulled away late, had a respectable qualifying time as well, starting at that 9th place position, but worked it on up here. And what an incredible drive for the driver of the number 10 machine.
May see some burnouts here at the end of this as Steven Wilson will begin to loop it around here. A little bit tougher to do burnouts at Dover, and there we go. Gets it pointed the right way to bring us tonight's Coca-Cola winning moment, brought to you by Coca-Cola, the official fan refreshment of eNASCAR. Steven Wilson victorious here at Dover. Here's our Coca-Cola move of the race from the evening, and it was Wilson making the pass on Nate Stewart to take the lead for what eventually would be the final pass for the lead and the final battle up front we saw this evening.
Yeah, you saw it right there. Nate Stewart got a little loose off the exit of 2, allowed Steven Wilson to get to the inside, and it was no contest at all in 3 and 4 as the Hawkeye gets it done, and he put a statement here this afternoon.
Steven Wilson, 5th win in the eNASCAR College iRacing Series. First win since Nashville last November, almost a year ago. To Blake McCandless and the final laps of the eNASCAR Contender iRacing Series from Richmond. 25 laps to go here and a good battle up front.
Well, it seems like so far, at least this run, we've managed to get a couple of laps under our belts, but it was pure chaos, which again, we have seen time and time again throughout this Contender Series. Up front, not much of a change that we pretty much had all evening long. You can see Bordeaux, Luz, and Novak that have kind of been exchanging spots within the top 3. Pretty much since Salas was put back through his strategy. Now, the one thing with Vicente Salas, he was involved in that last caution. He was turned, but he has 23-lap fresher tires in the rest of the field, and he is charging up to the front. So this call for him could pan out, but nevertheless, look at some of the big runs that we have for drivers that are running up in the top 20 right now that didn't start there. Daniel Falkingham is running 7th right now. He's up 8 spots since the drop of the green flag. Seth the Merchant, 26th up to 12th. Ryan Doucette, 23rd up to 11th. But Afuco is also running in the top 15 right now. So a couple of drivers that have been big beneficiaries of some of the chaos that we've seen. A couple of drivers that have fallen out. Taylor Hurst was strong all night long. He currently runs in the 36th position. And then 2 cars that are put out is Christopher Pfeffer also experienced some issues off of 2. Mercurio is going to spin fully around, but he's on the apron, but we are still green as he was not on the racing surface. So we continue to roll on here. Again, Pfeffer and Mercurio spun, but no caution flag thrown.
3 wide just about everywhere here, Blake, and it's tricky because you don't necessarily move that fast, but everything's so tight here as they bounce off of each other down the back straightaway to where, especially as you come off of restarts and you see tire strategies come together and mix and go back and forth, it just seems like everybody ends up in trouble in a big wreck on the front straightaway to bring out the yellow flag just shy of 19 laps now, 18 laps to go. Big trouble down the front straightaway. Blake McCandless, a big incident there to bring out the yellow once again. Get a good look at this field bunching up behind the pace car as you've got a whole host of people here ready to go, trying to fight for position and trying to find their way up towards the front of this field. 18 laps to go at Richmond. We'll see whether or not anybody decides to come down pit road, but I think this late in the going, you are likely going to hold your tongue unless you are Ray Alfalla and you are coming in and you're bringing in basically the back half of the field with you. So this will make things interesting. Pretty much everybody from about 15th on back in. Everybody else from the top 15 staying in. Terry Radford, you have our winner from the College Series this evening, Stephen Wilson.
Yeah, Stephen, win number 5 in the eNASCAR College Series. How does this one feel that you kind of made a statement at the last half of that race?
Oh, yeah, it feels good, to come back this semester and get another win. I was pretty much just driving it as hard as I had to keep the lead there, and then it seemed like the other two fell off because the tires were really falling off there on the long run, so I just did a good job trying to hold on to the right front and drove away.
Well, we appreciate you being a part of the series. Congratulations on your 2023 Coke Series championship as well. I hope to see you at Watkins Glen and potentially win number 6 on the horizon for you.
Yeah, thank you guys.
That's Stephen Wilson, James Pike, the winner here at the Dover Motor Speedway for the eNASCAR College iRacing Series.
Fought for Iowa and fought for Iowa well. Did Stephen Wilson. This evening comes away $1,000 richer. Scholarship money to pay for books, tuition, meals, whatever. I'll admit, Terry, not that I hadn't seen many of them, but I missed the late night cheeseburger after a big study session at one of the dining halls on campus somewhere.
I was not smart enough to go to college, but I did enjoy that during my military time, from Cookout potentially and Wendy's across the board. There was so many great options for after Chow Hall was closed for us. But yeah, we'll get it going. But James, I think we're going to take a look here at our college results.
We will indeed, while they continue to circulate under yellow at Richmond. Stephen Wilson, Jose Solis Jr., and Garrett Lowe, your top 3 solos with a fabulous result. Best of the regular College Series drivers this evening. Logan Clampett was 4th, Tyler Gary 5th, Matthew Morton, James Cioli, Noel Fougere, Mario Miranda, and Drew Jua, your top 10. They all go away with money tonight.
Colton Salick being the first driver out for the scholarship money, with Braden Movick, Austin Johnson, Jack Coyne back there, Austin Farr, your race winner the last race we were at, Andy Trupino in 16th, Elliott White rebounds up to 17th, Alexander Hyder in the 18th spot, AJ Green in 19th, and Reese Bayham rounds out your top 20.
Charles Woodley in 21st. Lane Graves was 22nd. Kayla Hankins brought it home 23rd. Abraham Vila was 24th. Colson Phelps for Iowa State was 25th. Austin Green came home 26th. Brandon Pitgrass, Daniel Nanny, Caleb Bryan, and company round out the top 30.
Garrett Vitton back there in 31st, and that will round out your field here as they go across the screen. We'll take a look at the point standings here. Austin Farr there in the points lead, as well as Logan Clampett still second. That was coming into this race. We'll have it updated when we go to Watkins Glen in a few weeks' time.
Lots of drivers going to be looking for victory at Watkins Glen, and a new opportunity for some of the folks in the field as we go back to Contender Series racing and back to action here at Richmond Raceway. Working our way towards the final 14 laps. Derek Bordeaux, Ryan Luza, and Zach Novak, your leaders, and already look at the big block there from Jonathan Delaney just a little bit further back as they are everywhere in the top 10. Trouble a little bit further back. Contact there is Ray Alfalla, first on the fresh tires, trying to make up ground.
And Pfeffer's going to go for a slide once again through 3 and 4 as he's going to get tagged. You can see his car hard to the outside wall. Mentioned that he was nearly in that last accident that took place just before this caution come out. But yeah, this is kind of what we've come to expect, James. Late in these races, we've kind of seen the mentality of, oh, well, we're just points racing here. We're trying to get into the top 20. That's been kind of just thrown out the window this season. It's been a fundamental shift of kind of an attitude towards the series that we haven't really seen at least until this season. Everything's pretty calm up in the top 5, but you can continue to see, we were talking about earlier, Matthew Zwack that was nearly on the cut line. He's now 7 back. Daniel Buttafuoco, what a rebound it would be for him after the horrendous start that he had to the season. If he were able to make his way back up into the top 20. Doucette has also been somebody, he had 2 internet issues to start the season back-to-back, and yet here he is in 17th. A remarkable comeback for him, that number 77 car as well.
Yeah, Doucette just trying to pull some strategy. Blake, I almost feel like he's coming from your school of thought. Not to say that you don't have speed, but we know how much you love a good tire or pit strategy. And Doucette, especially in these last 2 weeks, has really used those to his advantage.
Oh, for sure. His strategy has been the name of the game, and it's been something where, you know, because track position is so hard to come by, these drivers are so close, they're so competitive, it's so valuable, yet I think we kind of overprotect it at times. You know, we've seen a lot of drivers over the course of a couple of these yellows who've managed to come down pit road, and the 15-20 lap advantage they have, again, is good enough, maybe not to get to the front of the field, but it's good enough to improve where they were running. So somebody like Adu said, who was kind of mired back in the 25th, 26th position for most of this race, he's able to come down, pit with a couple of cars that were involved in the accident, even though he doesn't have damage, and here he finds himself in 10th. It may not be a winning move, but we've seen this time and time again, especially from Doucette over the last 2 weeks, where kind of going on an alternate strategy is a way to make up points. And again, you're kind of racing those cars that are within 5 or 10 positions of you in the points. Those are the drivers that you're really kind of pulling these strategies on. So it is working out for him. You can see Daniel Smallwood also 4 points back. And I mean, look how close it is from 23rd to 28th. 4 points separate 6 drivers, from Buttafuoco all the way down to Anthony Burrows. That's how competitive this Contender Series is. And the fact that we've seen so many yellows and all the chaos, that only makes that cut line more competitive.
So Terry Radford, this is your first crack at seeing some Contender Series action here in a few weeks. What have you taken away just from the general trends we touched on in this race tonight during the College Series race, and then what you've seen here now that our College Series race is wrapped?
Well, kind of to Blake's point, it really, once you get to the tail end of these races, you kind of have to get the points. You have to get in where you can fit in. In a place like Richmond, it's so easy to overdrive that corner and put yourself in a vulnerable position. And you've seen a lot of changes in here. Vicente Salas on the pit strategy did not go his way. You saw the same thing with Caden Honeycutt with an incredible drive through the field to get to the top 5 for an untimely caution. But look at some of the drivers from the Coke Series that are back down in here. Daniel Falkenkamp did not have the run in his initial season, running up here in the top 7. Maybe this car plays dividends to them, James, and maybe it's not the Cup car, but this Xfinity car is definitely the one they want to drive the most.
Getting ready for what should be a very hectic 8 laps left. Derek Bordeaux on the gas pedal. Luzo with a good jump there. And Zach Novak trying to work the high line. Look at the fan again in the middle of this pack. They're going to try and make it 4 or 5 wide. And usually at Richmond, that does not work. One car up the hill, a few more there. 4 wide in the middle of the racetrack there.
I wonder how much longer this can last. This has not been a case where we've seen 4 wide, especially off of 4. You can kind of see that it gets them a little bit out of shape. Kevin King, Cody Bias make a little bit of contact. That's what's been happening, that we see 3 wide. These guys can handle 3, but as soon as they get to 4, something usually happens on the exit of the corner. Somebody gets squeezed in the wall, somebody gets turned. We've seen that several times, especially off of turn 2.
Will they keep it together for another 6 laps, or are we going to see yet another yellow flag? Big dive from Delaney, that bright orange Sunoco car, and look at the move there from Colin Bowden to go inside of him. He tried to peek underneath. I think that was Wyatt Tinsley, and Bowden just took advantage of the whole thing as the yellow flag comes out. One car spun around in turn 2. Believe that's Cody Bias that's gone around to bring out the yellow flag, and that will set up most likely our first green-white checker of the evening.
Yeah, Bias right there just going around on its own. Don't know if he got any help in that sim seat number 27 or not, but look at the point shakeups we see here. He is now tied, a three-way tie for that cutoff spot in the top 20. Ray Alfalo on the fresh tires. He's 2 below the cut. There is a lot that is going to happen here on the green-white checkered attempt, Blake.
It is, and I mean, look at Kevin King. We were just talking about him being 7 or 8 points to the good. Now he's 6 points behind the cut line after a couple of issues that he had over the midst of that run. Kind of got hit up the racetrack, lost a handful of positions. It even was kind of a part right there of that caution with Cody Bias kind of spinning in the back of the field. As you can see, once again, this is the road to get here. These guys are through the eNASCAR qualifying iRacing series. They are here, the eNASCAR Road to Pro iRacing series, in the Contender series. And it's hard to believe. I mean, we're almost all the way through this Contender series. It's back-to-back, week-to-week, and yet only a couple races remain for these drivers to try and make their opportunity through. And a couple of these drivers that are at the tail end of the lead lap are going to take this opportunity, come down, get some fresh tires, see if they can't make up, I don't know, 10 or 15 spots or so on this green-white checkered, which, again, we have seen time and time again in this series that it has not often been just one green-white checkered. It's been multiple attempts, and you get to see, we might see more of the same at Dover Motor Speedway, which, of course, for those of you tuning in to the eNASCAR College iRacing Series, you saw the college drivers take on Dover Motor Speedway. We'll visit that in the Contender Series next week, and we'll wrap things up at Texas Motor Speedway to set our field for the Coke Series next season.
And if you want more updates from the world of eNASCAR, whether or not it's college or Contender or Coke or qualifying or what have you, scan the QR code on the lower right-hand portion of your screen to get all the information you need from iRacing, the official simulation partner of NASCAR. So Derek Bordeaux is still in control of this. We have indeed entered our first green-white checker attempt of the evening. So, Terry Radford, let's take a look at how that works. It's the same in the College Series and the Contender Series. We'll take the green flag with 2 laps to go. If we get the white before we get a yellow, the next flag after the white flag will end the race. If we get the yellow before they come back to take the white flag, we will throw everybody under yellow, re-rack the field, stack them up, do it again, and calamity is maybe an understatement, I think.
Well, and to quote our great production staff behind the scenes, send it, right? We've seen it so far in this where it has been cautions breeding cautions. We saw this race take an extended green flag run, and then once that first caution flag waved, it then became a crapshoot on who was going to get it done. And Blake, I think you hit the nail right on the head. Go to Dover Motor Speedway. We just saw these cars in the eNASCAR College Series compete out there. It could be one or two things. We could see a caution-free race, or we could see a ton of yellow flags be waved over this Contender Series. But I tell you what, though, boys, we're in for a barn burner to finish this one.
Is that Salas that's missing the nose on his car?
It sure is. He's still sending it, Blake.
Again, he's got fresher tires than everybody that's up here. You'd have to imagine that through the heat cycles, it's probably not what it once was. But the fact that he is in this thing, got caught in the wrong strategy, got caught behind the field in the midst of a green flag cycle, and yet is up here in the top 8. That's just incredible.
Absolutely wild scenes here as Bordeaux and Luza and Nowak and Olat and everybody will try and make the move. Look at Salas already jumping to the high lane, and immediately then the Olat will counter as they bounce off of each other. Falkingham will spin around, trouble in the middle of the field, cars wrecking up to the high line. Salas was able to save it just a little bit, but he lost some track position, and we now will enter our second green-white checker.
That right there turned into a mess real quick, and that all honestly started there on that initial start. Blake, you talked about Vicente missing the nose on that thing, but he darted out to the outside, and it was a quick block as well. Olat put the block on him, and that changed the dynamic and the complexion of this race. And for Falkingham, who has had a pretty decent run thus far, he's been inside the top 10 for the majority of this race. He finds himself with a damaged race car and hoping to find the same success that the dead zone driver, the 55, has found as well.
He has, and again, this is just kind of, I guess, the new era, the new school thought, the new mentality that these drivers are approaching with is kind of the result of that. I know Salas, he's going to fight for everything. He's pretty much locked in right now at this point, and we know that he's going to try to make moves. He's going to win. He doesn't care that he's locked in. Is that a move that I would have made, knowing what's on the line, knowing what could come around to bite you potentially in the Coke Series next year? Maybe not. But again, I think we've seen time and time again. Somebody just queued up after that and said, "This is what the Coke Series will bring you." And honestly, looking at the Coke Series this past year, yeah, we had a lot of late race chaos. We had a lot of late race restarts. So maybe this is kind of preparing these guys for what they might see at the next level. May not be the way that it is the most respectful form of racing, but you got to learn to be aggressive if you're going to stick your elbows out and compete at this top level.
And we've seen the level of aggression in the Coke Series rise dramatically, I think, over the past few seasons. So while we've got a moment, let's take a look at what happened over the course of our College Series race that just wrapped up at Dover Motor Speedway. Stephen Wilson, the victor. Terry Radford.
Yeah, you see the initial start right here, taking off. We were clean and green for a decent amount. You see the fights going on in the mid-pack there, where drivers were really having to be aggressive to make track position up. There's the onboard with Reese Bayham with the aggressive block in front of him. And take a look there at the 27. All of these drivers had to find their way, and there's Garrett Vitton, the one highlight he didn't want to see, and bam, he goes spinning like a corkscrew. And we saw a lot of Barney waving flags tonight at Dover as well.
Saw lots of action, a lot of drivers really pushing through the field. Saw some great battles in the middle of the pack, and saw a whole bunch of folks just working every single groove they could while trying to make sure they didn't run up into trouble like we saw here with Omar Diallo and Nate Stewart. Neither of them wanted to give an inch. They both end up in the fence, and it ruined both their races. And then it was the Stephen Wilson show. He took over a late race incident with Wayne Graves where they somehow didn't wreck. I still don't know how they didn't end up spinning in some way.
Pure talent.
But yeah, crazy.
Pure talent was on display right there of our college finest drivers across the board. But Blake, I actually want to touch on the point that you talked about here with the aggression level picking up in Contender. Do you think that kind of stems from an easier path to get here with the trucks because you're able to drive those trucks just a little bit more aggressive? Do you think that's translating into the Xfinity car into this Contender Series?
I wouldn't say it's because the trucks are, if anything, I think you have to race the trucks so hard because everybody is so even, because the draft is a big factor. You're more on top of each other than what you are in these Xfinity cars. So the tools and the skills that you kind of learn running in the trucks, this is kind of what we see. Really aggressive on restarts, not kind of taking it easy, taking every run that you have. I mean, look at the restarts we have. We have just look at the pace car's going to dive down here. The rolling up to the restarts has been crazy tonight. We didn't see it a whole lot that time because the green came out a little bit early, but just rolling up to the restarts has been something that's been very important. Drivers have been getting away with all series long.
Second attempt at a green-white checker here at Richmond. It's a little bit cleaner throughout the field, or maybe not, Terry.
Oh, no. Yeah, I saw Vicente Salas almost lose it, and that almost took Ray Alfalo and the fresh tires completely out of this race. He had the opportunity to make the pass, but he'll have to send it to one if he wants to get it done. But Bordeaux leads him on the white flag.
Bordeaux is clear. Well, we have a last lap incident that could shake up the points significantly a little bit further back in the field. They haven't wrecked yet. Way deep in this about 20th is Derek Bordeaux is going to come across the line to win for the first time in 2023 in the eNASCAR Contender iRacing Series. And they finally did wreck, but it was just after the line. So they largely held station Blake McCandless, and we didn't see too much calamity in the points at the very end of this.
Well, there's always one way to kind of avoid all of this carnage and chaos, and that's to be up front and be fast. And Bordeaux, Luz, and Novak, perfect examples of being able to take advantage of that tonight. So you can see right there, they were pretty much in the top 5. So was Keister. Dylan Alt started up front, and they pretty much stayed there throughout the duration of this race.
Bordeaux, Luza, Novak, your top 3. Keister, Alt, top 5. Then Tinsley, Femiola, Colin Bowden, Jonathan Delaney, and Vicente Salas made it all the way back to 10th from back in the field.
That they did, but again, we have plenty of great runs. How about Ray Alfala? Did not possess the speed to run up here in the top 20. Utilized some strategy, had some late race runs, missed some of the wrecks. He finishes 12th. He's almost going to be in contention here with a couple races left to go. A great rebound for 2 of the Daniels in Smallwood and Buttafuoco. McKissick also a great run. Colin Bowden came back to finish 8th after being turned earlier in this race as well.
Some of the drivers that had trouble, Einel Phillip, Kevin King, I know got caught up in some incidents. Cody Bias went around a little bit later on in the going tonight. They'll have work to do in the final 2 races. And then some of these drivers, Caden Honeycutt will take the drop, but for a Holzer and the folks at EPI, Navarro, Falkingham, these are not the finishes you need if you want to be able to breathe easily entering Texas in a few weeks. Speaking of points, Blake McCandless, you look at this picture, you look at the top 20, what stands out to you?
The fact that we have Ryan Doucette who's in it after starting with 2 disconnects to begin his Contender series. He's in 17th right now, so that drop certainly helping him, but he's had some great runs to get up there. Kwame Scott looking to make a rookie start in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. Seth DeMerchant, so long has Seth DeMerchant been in this series, and yet he finally has a way forward, it would appear, if he can just have a solid couple of weeks. And how about Jonathan Delaney? You look in the top 20 right now, you see a ton of names that were in the Coke Series or at least have past Coke Series experience if they weren't in this past year. Jonathan Delaney, a remarkable run, is sitting in 8th. Not a previous Coke Series driver, has been trying to make it in this series for a while. And we haven't talked about him a lot on the broadcast throughout these races, but it's just solidly been running in the top 10. And, you know, got to give haps and props to him finally, because he's in 8th. He's in a tremendous position right now, so well-deserved for that number 12 car.
And it's the same blueprint that he used, especially in round 2 of the qualifying series, that he's used in the Contender series for Rise Esports. Just be consistently somewhere between 5th and 10th. He hasn't necessarily been a race-winning driver in any of our events this season, but he's been in the top 10 every single week. And in this series in particular, that pays more dividends than I think are immediately obvious to the naked eye. So Delaney now all of a sudden 2 races to go and a 48-point gap. If he can maintain that, have a good run, he may be able to lock in an opportunity into everything going on the last 2 weeks. A big thanks to all of you watching here on iRacing's channels. A big thanks to our crew behind the scenes, and for my folks and my partners in the booth, Terry Radford on the College side, Blake McCandless on the Contender side, I'm James Pike. Thank you so much for watching our coverage of the eNASCAR College and Contender iRacing Series, and we will see you next week.